Guys, thanks for joining me today. I'm here with Brian Lincer from Internicola Law Firm, and today we are talking about the FDD, the Franchise Disclosure Document. Now, I describe it much simpler than Brian would probably like. So I say it's 23 items, about 200 pages of attorneys talking to attorneys. It's important to understand it, and I'm going to have Brian explain it to you. So Brian, can you talk a little bit about what you talk about when you first speak with a candidate who would be, from me, a potential franchisee of the system, what they should be watching out for in an FDD or looking for?
So, generally speaking, you want to make sure that there aren't any red flags, from, in a nutshell. You're going to have a long-term relationship with this franchisor. It's important to understand, what they're about, what their history is about, what their relationship with other franchisees are, what the cost is, what the, ongoing costs, what are the relationship with the vendors, and, you want to make sure that the intellectual property is intact, and, the trademarks are in order. So basically, unlike other non-franchise businesses, you have this insight into this business and this history, which in my mind, you can use as a tool to make sure you make the right decision, right? Because if you started a, lawn care business yourself, it's going to take you, 10 years to figure out what a franchisor knows, today. And they made those mistakes and went through that process. So this gives you insight into their past, and it gives you the ability to predict the future in a sense. So generally speaking, it's information that we have today based on the past to make a future decision and make the right decision. We want to extract anything in there that could affect that future decision. Your future self, if you would.
Absolutely. So when I describe it to people, again, this is Lisa being simple, I say it's 23 items and it's kind of laid out like dinner. So I have, 1 through 4 is the appetizers. It's all important and great. But then we get to the protein, the meat of the business, which is 5 through 7, the financials, that type of thing. 8 to 18, let's face it, those are just the vegetables. They're important. They have to be there. I want to understand them, but they're not where I'm going to go first. And then 19, of course, item 19, one of my favorites is dessert. That's when you get the real tasty part of how much money can I make in this business, maybe, or how much are others making. And then like the after dinner, right? So we have how many outlets, where are the franchise owners, can I talk to them, the financials of that, the business model, the example contracts in the receipt. So talk to us, just if I break it down like that, in item 1 through 4, which are the appetizers, what's in there and what am I just kind of looking for when I'm first reading through that document?
That's great. I think that's actually a great way to describe it, because they're all part of the meal, and they're all very important parts. But it's a great way to break it down. So 1 through 4, basically, if I had to define that, it would be more of the background information that you have on the franchisor, right? So those are things like affiliations, corporate affiliations, like what other companies are they involved with, what other brands, if any. Yeah. And you get to take a look back in their history and see, how long that goes back. You also have the management team, right? Who are you going to be dealing with on a daily basis? So that's really important to know. That relationship is going to be very important. 3 and 4. So 3 is litigation, right? Has there been any litigation with the franchise system, with any of their affiliates, with any of the people in the management team, right? So we want to see, we're looking for a pattern there. If there is consistent litigation, it may be something that we need to get more information on. If it's
that's important to point out to people. Sometimes, especially with, I don't want to say older FDDs, but older franchisors, they're just going to have more stuff. They have more history. So and I know, because we've had this conversation a million times, but are there deal breakers in that 1 through 4, or is it more a matter of here's us disclosing what's happening?
Yeah, that's a great question. So to me, it's about having that background information. But if we see something like in an item 3 that there's consistent litigation with franchisees. And the way I look at it, it's almost like a percentage, right? I think there's some litigation is expected with any business, right?
Okay.
So if you have, 1,000 locations, and there's a couple litigated matters that are disclosed, to me, that's not indicative of a litigious franchise brand or a franchisee suing a franchisor. So it wouldn't be a red flag to me. But if you see, if it goes past a higher percentage and you see a pattern, that to me is what we're looking for. Because
Okay.
I think that, 1 out of every 100 people that you deal with, there's going to be an issue. And that's, I think, with any business. And, whether you're a restaurant and get a bad Yelp review, and even if you do your best, it's just one of those things that happen in business, and that's expected. But I think if it's consistent, then you may want to get, I'm not sure if it's a deal breaker right away, but I definitely I want to get more information. I would do, some more fact checking, maybe go back to the franchisor, ask them what that's about, why there was so much litigation or whatever the case is, or speak to other franchisees. That's, also a great way to get
Right.
more information to see if there's.
Yeah, that's important, guys. And just remember that, like, when you get the FDD, you are getting a picture of what this business looks like, and you're going to have questions. And I think one of the most important things is that the franchisor is transparent in their answers. If they get super defensive from you asking a question from what's on a piece of paper, that more to me is the red flag than what's on the paper. How they answer that question is actually almost just as important as the fact that it was there in the first place, right?
I agree 100%. And that's, things are going to happen in any business. So the expectation shouldn't be, I have a perfect record of nothing happening. It should be, we had something happen, we addressed it, and we got better for that. And I think that's in life and in business and anything else, you're going to get hit once in a while. How do we improve from that? And that's really what I want to see. If I was investing in a franchise, that's what I want to see. How do we grow? How do we, even, with the pandemic and things, how did we react to that? How do we become better because of that? And that's really important to me. So not necessarily, I don't really care about the thing that happened. I care how we react to that. And it's the same thing. If your response, how do they respond to that? I think that's more of an indication of what you're going to be dealing with than the actual thing itself.